Okay, so who here feels like the Chinese guy this morning? Who here feels like they'd be pretty happy if they were the guy in 1938 who actually just made it over the pommel horse without being sick? Okay, so I don't think many of you will disagree with me if I start by saying the world of business sometimes feels a little bit like this, right? You've got new competitors coming from both within the industry and from whole new industries that didn't even exist 3 or 4 years ago, threatening to overturn the whole business. Your customers constantly want more and more. But amid all of that, right, basically, you're trying to answer one simple question, right? Amid all this competition, amid all of these accelerating expectations, you're just trying to answer this question, what are my customers going to want next? If you've got a decent answer to this question, then suddenly that avalanche feels a little bit more manageable. So I run this company called Trend Watching, right? And that is a terrible, terrible name for a company, okay? Because no one has a clue what it is we do, right? John's introduced me. People, they hear Trend Watching and they think, we must be about fashion trends. Right? And then they meet me and they kind of look me up and down and then they say, okay, no, maybe not. Or if you're a bit more serious, if you're a bit more business-like, you hear trends and you think, okay, that's where the economy's going. That's, The Economist, the Financial Times, that's what he's talking about. Or if maybe you're a bit younger and you spend all your days on social media, this is what half of my friends think I do all day, every day. We'll look at what's trending, what's the latest new filter I can apply on Snapchat. Or, of course, some people think it's all about technology, right? Technology, we hear about it every day. What's the hot new device? What's going to change the world around us? Where are we going to spend all of our time living in a virtual world, right? No. We look at consumer trends, as John mentioned, right? We look at consumer trends, which we defined as a manifestation among people in behavior, attitude, or expectation of a fundamental human need, desire, want, or value. And for those of you, none of you guys are going to know who Trend Watching are, or maybe one or two of you, just a little bit about us, 2 seconds to put it into context. Right, so we wrote a whole book about, as you can see, the subtitle, How to Beat Accelerating Customer Expectations. Right, that is what we are about as a business. Right, we have a newsletter, you can sign up to it for free, it goes out to about 250,000 subscribers every month all around the world. And we also have a premium service, which is a database, which is what John subscribes to, of trends and innovations. We've got over 1,000 clients, most of the big brands and agencies all around the world subscribe to that, including loads that are here in Australia, Coles, Telstra, Westfield, etc. Right, but amid all of this, right, I'm going to save you from having to read our book, right? Basically, we have one big idea. We believe, right, that you can start to see trends emerge. I started at the beginning by saying you're trying to answer this question, what are my customers going to want next? And our big idea is you can see what customers are going to want next. You can see these trends start to emerge as you look at innovators addressing people's basic needs and wants in novel ways. Okay, it's quite a short sentence, but there's a lot going on here, so I just want to unpack it into a few component parts. Right, on the one hand, we live in this world of constant, perpetual, relentless change. Right? As John introduced, change is no longer an option. I don't need to tell anyone in this room, right? The world is changing faster than ever. Political change, social change, economic change, technological change. Right? We live in a world of change. But amid all of this change, right, we're so obsessed with what's changing, we sometimes forget that we're still people. We still have certain basic, fundamental, universal needs and wants that don't change year on year. Like Mark Zuckerberg didn't invent the desire to connect with our friends and family. Right? Think about status, entertainment, connection. When it comes to buying something, you want to know that you're getting the right product or house at the fair price that's right for you. Right? That desire hasn't come out of nowhere. It's always been with us. But what changes, of course, right, as I touched on, is new innovations come into the marketplace from new startups. They could be crowdfunded. They could be new products and services from existing businesses, new marketing campaigns. Right? These new things come into the marketplace on a daily basis, an hourly basis now. And what these innovations do is they change our expectations. Right? As customers, they change our expectations. Suddenly, if you're aware there is a nice, juicy, tasty hamburger out there, the soggy, floppy one on the left doesn't seem so inviting anymore, right? It's painful. And I think we all know this, right, as people. So I'm just going to do a little exercise to introduce this. I just want to ask you guys a few questions, right? So let's imagine, normally if I'm in Europe, I present this and say, imagine it's raining outside when you go outside, but because it's your winter and it's another horrible day here, imagine you go outside and it's too hot for you to walk back to your hotel, right? And you open the Uber app, right? Just let's have a show of hands. Who here uses Uber or one of the other taxi hailing apps? Okay, keep your hands up. Keep your hands up, right? What I want to do. So you open the app and it gives you a time of how long you have to wait, okay? I'm just going to count up and I'm going to ask you, right? If you see 2 minutes, who here would still wait for that cab, right? You'd take that. Keep your hands up. There were more people. Come on, I know it's early in the morning. Come on, let's get a bit of blood going, right? Who uses Uber? Pretty much everyone, right? Okay, says 4 minutes. Would you still wait? Oh, we got a couple of people, hands down. 6 minutes? 8 minutes? 10 minutes? Wow. Someone's waiting because they think I might give a prize for the person who actually is the last person. There's no prize, okay. 12 minutes? Okay, we have 2 or 3 people. 15 minutes. Okay, I'm not going to go on forever, you know. My arm's getting tired now. Okay, but just think about that, right? I think most people, you felt it. At about 8 minutes, pretty much most of the room put their hands down. Just think about that for a second. Right? 3 or 4 years ago, if you'd called a cab and they said 8 minutes, there's no way you would have even been ready when it arrived. Right? Mainly the women at the front are laughing here, right? There's no way, right? And now, the majority of people in this room, it's intolerable that you should have to wait for 10 minutes for a cab, right? But you guys aren't the only ones, okay? I'm just doing this in a little illustration. Uber, obviously, this is very important for Uber's business, right? They need to know how long you will wait. And so a couple of years ago, they started running the numbers on this. And they found the orange line is 2013, the blue line is 2014, right? They found that as time goes by, people get less willing to wait. And then they said, well, maybe it's just San Francisco. Maybe people in San Francisco are just really impatient. Right? And they ran the numbers, city after city. They found the same thing happening. Right? And these are their words. The longer Uber has been in a city, the less willing everyone is to wait for that car. And of course, we know this, right? We feel it as people. Your expectations start to change. And actually, one of our favorite trend spotters called this out again a couple of years ago. It's got a short video just to put this into a different perspective.
Do you feel that we now, in the 21st century, we take technology for granted?
Well, yeah, because now we live in an amazing, amazing world, and it's wasted on the crappiest generation of just spoiled idiots that don't care, because this is what people are like now. They got their phone, and they're like, it won't. Give it a second. It's going to space. Can you give it a second to get back from space? Is the speed of light too slow for you? Yeah. I was on an airplane and there was internet, high speed.
Oh. There we go. Our expectations have been crushed.
And then it breaks down, and they apologize. The internet's not working. The guy next to me goes, "This is bull."
Okay, so hopefully for those of you, we kind of almost got it right. So he's on the plane, the internet breaks down. The guy next to him goes, "This is bullshit." And he said how quickly the world owes him something he didn't even know existed only 10 seconds ago. Right? And that is the world we live in today. Right? You guys proved it with the Uber examples. Right? Once something is out there, right? Going back to the old way of doing something, actually the irony is, even if you haven't used it and you're just aware it exists, suddenly having to go out there and actually flag down a cab, actually have cash in your wallet, actually know where you're going, have to describe it, all of these feel slightly painful now. Because we believe, right, the summary of all of this is we live in an expectation economy. And what we mean by that is, right, customers don't compare people just to other people in the industry, right? Competitive benchmarking is something that business people do. No customer has ever competitively benchmarked right, their peers. They just say, why are you not as good at customer service as Singapore Airlines? Why is your content not as entertaining as Red Bull's? Why is your website not as fast as Google's, right? Why is the customer experience not as authentic, not as meaningful to me as Airbnb? Right? These are the comparisons that customers are making, no matter what price point, no matter what industry, comparing you against the best in class. Right? This is the world we live in today. So what I'm going to do, I'm not a real estate guy, as John said. Right? I'm going to show you a whole load of case studies from other industries, other markets. Right? And what I want you guys to do is to look out for the slides that just spark a light bulb in your head, right? And everyone in this room, I see a few people taking photos. You're more than happy to have the presentation afterwards. I'm going to whip through. I've got loads of slides to go through. John and the AREC guys can distribute the presentation. It's all yours. In the notes, in the slides, there's more information. There's links to the URLs, the videos if you want, right? So it's all yours. But what I want you to do while you're sitting here for the next 33 minutes we have, right, is to look out for the one or two examples that just light a spark in your head that you want to email around to your team and say, why are we not doing something like this, right? These guys are in a different industry. We could be the guys to bring this to the real estate industry. But of course, you've got to adapt it for your customers, for the local market, whoever it is you're serving, whatever town, city, whatever demographic that is. Right, but think about how you could take some of these innovations and adapt them to get ahead of those customer expectations because they're coming to your door. So that's the preamble. Right, I've got you hopefully thinking about floppy hamburgers and taxi waiting times and in-flight Wi-Fi. Right, now let's look at three big trends, right, and where they're heading and how they're going to shape the real estate industry. So the first one, status, how it's shifting. Right? Let's start from saying the obvious. We live in a consumer society now that is totally and utterly, beyond all recognition, abundant. Right? The choices we have, the products and services, whether it's restaurants, whether it's physical products, right, are out of all proportion to what we need. Which means that the choices that we make as consumers say more about who we are as an individual than what we need to survive, right? How much of the stuff you buy is actually essential to your daily life, right? The brands, businesses, services that you buy from say something about who you are. Right? And the other side of status, right? So we live in this world where we talked about basic human needs, right? Status being the primary one. The other thing about status, right, and we know this is happening, is it used to all be about what you had, right? The car you drove, the handbag you wore, the shoes you had, right? The house you buy. But of course, this happened then, right? Status symbols, physical goods, became too accessible. They basically became too cheap. When everyone can afford them, they're no longer special. So what was our salvation? Experiences. Right? We know that this is real, right? You can actually go and eat in the sky. Right? There's a restaurant, you go, it's suspended by a crane. Right? It tours the world. If any of your friends have been on this, you've sure as hell probably seen it on their social media feed, right? This is what it's all about. So experiences will come and save us because they are rare, they're exclusive, they're hard to access. Right? They say something about who we are. And we know this, right? The big controversy at the moment is people prefer to spend their money on avocado toast rather than actually buying a house, right? That's because this is who I am as a person. I can appreciate avocado and poached eggs and a finely tuned flat white. Right? But there is an element of truth in this statement, right? And we see it. I mean, just one data point, right? 80% of affluent consumers would choose a luxury experience over a luxury item, 50% increase on the previous year. Right? We know that amongst consumers, we are shifting our time, attention, money towards experiences. And of course, we touched on social media earlier. It's social media that's one of the huge drivers of that. Because before, when you went to a restaurant, only the people who could actually physically see you would get to see how amazing you were, how cultured you were. Now, you can share it with everyone, forever. Everyone can know what good taste you have. Right? So this is where people are, this is what is driving their behavior, status. But how is status changing, right? Because I said at the beginning, it's no longer just about the products that you own, the BMW you drive, the Chanel handbag that you have on your arm, right? Status is about how skilled you are, right? That's why Apple runs educational sessions at its stores. But it's not just Apple teaching people how to use computers. It's brands like Topshop teaching people how to be happy, healthy, and successful. Right, on Oxford Street, at the start of the year, for around people's New Year's resolutions, Topshop ran classes, not related to selling clothes, because that's not the business they're in anymore. They're about helping their customers be the people that they want to be. And we see this again and again. This was just, I was doing some research after Gary's session yesterday, and this article popped up. Right, this is not enough to have a gym anymore. You've got to have a personal trainer that's exclusively accessed for people that rent in that condo. Right, and this is a great article. The URL's in the links, so have a look at it. It talks about social media influencers moving in, hosting secret gigs for people. It's not about just the apartment that you live in anymore. It's about the lifestyle that buys you access to. Have you got your personal sushi chef teaching you how to make sushi in the communal kitchen? These are some of the things popping up in New York apartments now. Right, and we see this again and again, right? What do people want to be? Right, when you're selling them a house, you're selling them a lifestyle dream. Right? And status is no longer just about what you have, as I've said again and again, but about who you are as a person, how healthy you are. Right? Health is the new wealth, because that says something about who you are. Anyone can buy stuff, right? To be fit and healthy takes time, takes effort. So we see hotel chains, not even just, as I said, not just putting a gym in, but giving you live stream spinning classes in your room, because they understand that they're selling that lifestyle dream to people. When you stay there, you're doing more than just having a place to sleep. If you thought gyms were everywhere, right, what's going to come next? It's not just even physical health, but mental health. Right, what's the new status symbol? It's being mindful, being calm, being composed. Right, this says something about who you are as a person. Right, a meditation bar opening in Paris earlier this year, the first meditation bar in Paris. Right? Is this the new Starbucks? Who knows? Probably not. And again, think about, I'm just throwing a few examples at you here, but think about what the common thread is. Right? What is the common thread between these? It's about the sources of social status. The people that your customers want to be are changing. Right, we know all about sustainability, right? How is being sustainable a status symbol? Well, it's a status symbol if you have interesting stories to tell people. So this is an initiative from Adidas, right, and they partnered with this nonprofit to create this sneaker, you can see it in the middle there, which is made out of recycled plastic. It's taken from the ocean, right? So by buying another pair of shoes, you don't have a shopping problem. You're helping to clean the ocean. Okay, this is totally flipped consumerism on its head. You're going to tell everyone about that pair of shoes. Right? And this has been around for a couple of years. Right? They're going to produce niche ones, 50 made here, 50 made there. Adidas have come out and said they're going to create 1 million shoes that are made out of recycled plastic this year. Right? This is amazing. And again, it's not just how sustainable you are as a person, but how much you can give back to society. Right? Again, basically, are you not an asshole? Okay, so this is, status can be about how you're using your resources. Airbnb, right, we all saw when Trump came out with his Muslim ban, they came out and said, we will support people who are opening up their homes and giving rooms to refugees, right? Giving people rooms to people who are affected by the travel ban brand. That is a status story for their customers. And again, status as being in the know. Right, so here's Snapchat. When they released their latest spectacles, the glasses that stream video, they didn't take out a pop-up store and, just sell them like normal. No, they had these vending machines that you would only find out the location of them if you followed them on Snapchat. Right, so again, status is not about who you are and how much you have, but about who you know, who you're connected to. Are you in the right network? Right, so think about that. That's not about having lots of money. That's about being in the know. So we said the last 20 years have been all about the experience economy. Right? New types of experiences, travel, eating out, these are the sectors that have profited at the expense of hard physical goods, right? Because this is where people are spending their time and money. So when next for the experience economy? That's the question we're all asking. Right? What do you guys need to know about where's the experience economy heading over the next 20 years? Here's just one clip.
Look at this. There's a Vaporeon that spawned right there, so everyone's running.
There's a what there? You tell me you're
There's a Vaporeon.
Yes, that was a video from last summer, right? You cannot be a trend watcher and not mention Pokemon Go, right? Because it's not really about Pokemon Go, but that is a little bit incredible, right? That is New Yorkers running through Central Park, abandoning their cars to chase a digital animal, okay? I mean, these are like the most jaded people on the planet, and suddenly the status that they had, that digital leaderboard, had they caught all these Pokemon, right, was important to them, important enough to abandon their car and run across Central Park. Right? So that is a kind of frivolous example, and I'm not going to stand up here and say Pokemon Go is going to change the world. Okay, is anyone still playing it? Like a few people, right? So it comes and goes, right? Comes and goes. But, right, as you said, where is the experience economy headed next? And this guy, this is Kevin Kelly, who founded Wired in San Francisco. He's been consistently calling out where technology is headed for the last 20 years and has been consistently right. He's like a trend watcher's Obi-Wan Kenobi, okay? He's like our guru. And he has this idea that we are moving from an internet of information. If the first 20 years of the internet has all been about better, faster, more trustworthy, more transparent information, the next 20 years of the internet is going to be all about an internet of experiences, right? And we've seen it there. Digital experiences, right, and could be mixed reality experiences, half digital, half in the real world as well, will be the defining feature of the internet over the next 20 years. Right? Now, let's just have a quick caveat here. Most of them are shit right now, okay? I mean, if you've ever tried virtual reality, right, you're probably in this camp with everyone else, right? It's not very good at the moment, okay? But can you start to think about that customers will start to value digital experiences as much as or equal to physical real-world experiences, because they unlock whole new possibilities. So we see things like experiences that are actually impossible for you to have in the real world, right, will be enabled in virtual reality, like this. Just got a short video.
We've created a virtual reality experience based on the film The Walk, which is based on the true story of a French acrobat named Philippe Petit, who actually walked about 40 meters across a tightrope between the two towers of the World Trade Center in 1974. What we did is actually recreated that experience in virtual reality, so you get a little bit of the sensation of what it would have been like to actually step out on the wire. I've had people scream bloody murder because they're so scared, and you know, a lot of people just really actually just like to enjoy the view.
It really feels like you're gonna lose your balance and fall over. Bloody good stuff.
This was built for...
I love that guy. Bloody good stuff. But so this is here, right? And we've started to see it. But now, as I said, when we're always looking at these innovations, we're asking ourselves, right, what does it mean? Not just for the entertainment industry, right? I took this as I was leaving the airport yesterday. Right? But what does it actually mean for who people want to become? Because we've seen the experience economy, as I said, dominate consumer behavior over the last 20 years. Right? Everyone in this room is deeply affected by the desire for the experience economy. Right? It's what drives consumer behavior. And so how is that going to change? Of course, but it's actually not going to change. We said trends are about basic human needs. They're just expressed in new ways. So people will still want the same basic needs. They'll still want to feel a connection to the products and services that they buy. This is a bar in London where you drink this artisanal cocktail while you put on the headset and you can watch the guy distilling the whiskey in Scotland and feel that you're there, right? It's just amped up the same experience that we've seen over the last 20 years with people wanting to know where their soap comes from or where their coffee comes from, whatever, right? But expressed in a new way, right? It's going to be holistic health, but delivered virtually as well. So here you can go and have a virtual reality spa, right? Seems kind of ridiculous at the moment. But again, some of this stuff has seemed ridiculous for years before. Or it could be about using virtual reality digital experience that, again, show the world how much you care, what a wonderful person you are, right? So you can go with a concentration camp survivor and walk around the concentration camps in this new VR film, right? So all the things that people have wanted to do, who do people want to become, that will start to be expressed not just in the physical world, but in the virtual world as well. Right? And this one I find really intriguing, because if there's one statistic that sums up the experience economy, right, it's that the price of a concert ticket has gone up 400% in the last 15 years. Right? We all know this, right? Before you could just walk down to the gig, pick up a ticket on the door. Now you've got to book weeks, months in advance, right? Now, ABBA have never refounded since they split up, right? They haven't played at all, and they just announced earlier this year, back end of last year, that they would be doing a virtual reality tour in 2018, right? They've partnered with Simon Fuller, you know, the guy who does Pop Idol and all of this stuff, and they're going to do a virtual reality stadium tour. So, again, who knows? Will one day it be a status symbol to have attended their virtual concert? Or will it be something that we all do and then it makes the real thing 10 times more valuable? Right, who knows? But the thing is, the question I would ask is, we're still going to want the experiences we have as people to say something about who we are and to define who we want to become. So the question I'd leave you with after this first trend is to think about what social currencies are you dealing in? And more importantly, are your customers dealing in? Right? Are you speaking their language? When you're selling a house, as Gary spoke about yesterday, right? Whether it's with an influencer, whether it's on social media, right? You're not selling a house. You're not just pushing your listing, right? You're selling a lifestyle. You're selling a dream. You're selling a vision of who the person could become when they move into that house, right? So the overarching question you guys should be having as you go about your daily lives, not on a daily basis, right? But are you constantly aware of what people, your customers, find aspirational, find attractive, whether it's health, whether it's connectivity, whether it's exclusive experiences, whether it's displaying what a decent human being they are, right? And how are you speaking that language for them, with them? Okay, the second trend I wanted to look at here today is one about how expectations that are set in the digital world are moving faster than you can imagine into the offline world. So when we talk about trends, right, we constantly remind people this, right? Everyone is always focused on technology, right? Technology, what's the new app, what's the new platform? Where should I be doing my paid social media budget? Where should I be on Instagram? Should I be on Snapchat? Right? This is our obsession. But we urge people, when you think about trends, right, as we see the world, stop seeing the world through the lens of technology and start seeing technology through a lens of basic human needs and wants. Right? This was our basic driver of all consumer behavior. Because think about what technology actually does for people. Right? If you're a customer, technology makes you a super consumer. It gives you more information. It gives you more choice. It gives you hyper-convenience. It gives you the ability to personalize stuff more easily. Right? It reduces cost. The basic needs you have as a consumer are supercharged in the digital world. And what is going to happen over the next 5 years, right, is all of those superpowers that you now have online, so convenience, transparency, choice, relevance, personalization, things like that, are moving into the offline world. So we see things like the Amazon Dash buttons. Right, so if you're an Amazon Prime customer in the US and the UK and Germany as well, right, you can sign up and you order these little buttons, and they're connected to your account, and you can get razor blades, coffee, toilet paper, detergent. You stick them around your house, right, on your bathroom mirror, wherever it is, on your coffee machine, literally in the most urgent places, right? And when you run out of something, you press the button, it automatically orders, right? So we've seen what Uber does to your expectations about ordering a taxi. Even if you've never used one of these buttons, right, the next time you run out of toilet paper, if you're really disorganized in the house, right, I'm sure all of you guys are not, right, you're very think ahead. The next time you run out, you will think, shit, I'm getting the floppy hamburger now, right? There is a better way. There is a better way to order this, right? That pain point is there. And I love this. When you think about basic human needs, when we were looking into these, so you've got toilet paper. We looked on Amazon. Basic human needs, Nerf darts, right? Quite why you'd need to order Nerf darts. And then also the Durex dash button, right? I'm not sure if you go back to someone's flat and they have in their bedroom a button to order condoms next to their bed. It's quite a bold statement, isn't it? So basic human needs spoken to in a different way, in a new way, right? And again, Amazon are disrupting themselves already because this is their new product, the Amazon Echo, which is a computer that doesn't have a screen. You just talk to it, right? And you can order, so you just say, order me some more dog food, order me some new razor blades, order me some diapers, whatever it is. Right? So they're already disrupting themselves, the expectations of convenience amped up coming into the physical world. Right? Pinterest, just literally 2 weeks ago, released this, which is a new function where on your phone, you can now point your camera at something, and it will search for it using the image, right? Pull up recipes, as you can see there, right? Think how much the Google search bar has changed the world in the last 10, 15 years. It's changed every single one of your businesses. What is going to happen when that search bar comes into the real world, and you can just point at a house and search for it? That's going to change customer expectations around the world around them. Insane. And again, we're seeing this all over the place. This was just released last month in the US. This is a salad robot, right? It basically has all the fruit, has all the lettuce and everything in the robot. You can go up and you can choose, like you're online, like you're customizing something online. You just choose, I want this, I want that, I want this many calories. Press the button and it chops and prepares your salad for you instantly in a minute. Right? Again, all these expectations that we've been set online that we can customize, we can personalize, everything are going to move into the real world. How are you guys going to respond to these? This one blows my mind. Right? For anyone who bought a Tesla, last year, they woke up one morning and suddenly it could park itself. Right? Like, you know how when you get a software update on your phone and they add a new feature to the camera or they add something to your phone? They did this to your car. Right? It's basically a computer on wheels. It was parked in the garage. It's connected to the internet. They designed this new feature where it's self-parking ability, and they pushed it to people overnight. So you bought a car, and then it got better. Again, for the last, since ever, when you've bought something, you've bought it, and that's the product you've got. Now, just like we're used to with our phones, you will buy a product, and it will get better over time. Again, how rubbish is it going to feel if you buy something and it then just stays the same forever? And again, right, think about what other expectations we have online. Right, here is a device called Moodoo, which was just crowdfunded a couple of months ago. And you've got the smart light bulbs now where you can pick the exact color that you want the light bulb to be. Right? Now, this is similar, but with smell. So it has an app, and you can literally pick the exact combination with all these capsules. You can pick the combination of smell that you want in your house via an app. Everything controlled through the remote control of our lives, which is your smartphone. And then just a kind of fun example to end on how far and how fast this is heading. This is a wine club where you sign up. So I don't have the same wine knowledge as Gary Vee. I can't drop a whole load of local wines as he can. So I'll apologize because I don't know how this works. Well, I don't know how it works. They send you a swab. You spit in this tube, you swab your cheek, things, you send it back to them. They profile your DNA, and they then send you wine that, based on your DNA profile, you will like. Right? This is the kind of level of extreme personalization, which is where things are headed. And I guarantee, I can see half of you, right? You're sitting there shaking your heads, thinking, this is ridiculous, this is frivolous, this is irrelevant. Some of you. Straw poll, maybe 30% of you. Don't dismiss the ridiculous. Right? I remember 5 years ago when we were presenting this stuff, people thought that Airbnb or couch surfing, when it was even earlier, was for students that didn't have any money, who couldn't afford to travel. Right? Now you've got $10 million condos being rented on Airbnb. Right? Consumer behavior changes faster than you would imagine. Right? Remember when Napster, streaming music, was just for people who were pirating it? They couldn't afford it. Now billion-dollar companies like Spotify. Snapchat was just for sexting. Facebook was just for students to post photos of their frat parties. Right? Now we've got 2 billion people on Facebook. Right? If these trends tap into a basic human need, like personalization, like customization, like relevance, like control, they appeal to people in those basic fundamental needs and wants in novel ways. So the question I would ask you guys, right, is when you're thinking about the product you're selling, how you're selling it, what digital superpowers will your customers expect to have? Whether that's personalization, convenience, upgradability, searchability. How are these being conditioned? How have they been conditioned online? And don't think they're going to stay online. Because if you've just seen some of the examples there, all of these things are coming to change the world around us, physical world around us, faster than you can imagine. Okay, so the final trend I want to look at here is, and I've hit you with loads of examples. As I said, it's probably too much to take in, right? I've still got about 5 or 6 more examples. I really hope that every single person in this room has 1 or 2 examples where it's starting to flicker that light bulb, right? And now I just want to share with you a few more examples around how we can see new innovations coming into the marketplace that are going to disrupt some of the business models that are out there in property at the moment. Because again, we all know, right, the graph of the sharing economy over the past couple of years is exponential, right? Sharing economy has totally changed how people view property as an asset, right? Because what it's done is unlock the genius of Airbnb, right? Is no one actually thought that their spare bedroom was an asset. No one thought it had any value because you couldn't realize it, you couldn't unlock it. Right? And what we see again and again is new business models unlocking new sources of value. Right? So here's like the Airbnb for co-working spaces in restaurants, if that's not enough of a mouthful. Right? So this is restaurants which are not being used in the day in New York, opened up as co-working spaces in the day. Right? That's just a property that has no value, but until suddenly it does have some value. When it comes to the way we live, right? Co-living, WeWork, the co-working space, are going into WeLive, co-living spaces where you just share kitchens, big kitchens, share gyms, so you get more amenities. This is a more extreme version of that, because I wanted to, never start with the easy one. Go to the most extreme one you can find. This is a co-living service where you pay your $500 a week and you have access to a house in Bali, in Miami, in Lisbon, right, all over the world. So you can be a digital nomad and just live wherever you want in the world. Go from space to space. Or what about the Netflix for clothes? So this is a service in Singapore, which my colleague Acacia always bangs on about. She's obsessed with this. They pay 90 Singapore dollars a month, and basically you can rent kind of mid-range clothes. It's like H&M, Zara style price points, and you just take them, and then when you're bored of it, you just give it back, send it back, and swap it for new clothes, right? I can see a few of the women in the audience saying, actually probably more of a guys thinking, But think about what this does. You don't need such a big house, right? You can still lead the Instagram lifestyle of having a new outfit in every single post, but you no longer need 2,000 square meters of wardrobe space because you just have the clothes that are there in your wardrobe at that time. Right? So again, think about how this will change the product that you're selling when suddenly we have whole new ways of accessing value. Or public transport, right? How much does that affect the products, the properties that you guys are selling? Here we have a service in the UK. Citymapper is an app, right? It's in Brisbane and Sydney and Melbourne as well, so perhaps some of you have used it. It basically tells you, how to combine buses and subways and taxis, etc., to get to the point you want to be at quickly. And because they have all this data, they've launched a bus service in London. This is like a privatized bus service that actually goes where people want to go because they know where people want to go. They know the routes. So how is this going to change the world we all operate in when suddenly public services can be provided not just by public services, but by apps? This is a transport app, but suddenly they're running a bus service. Or, again, this is getting a bit more niche, This is a collective in Brooklyn. They're just piloting this. And for those of you who have solar-powered homes, you can connect to this network. There's 50 people in the pilot. And basically, using blockchain and smart contracts and all of this stuff that's way above my pay grade, but it's a new way of managing who supplies and who receives it, right? So it can all be tracked. They can essentially go off the grid and share each other's electricity. I don't quite know why. If you're all in the same neighborhood, surely when it's sunny in one place, everyone has solar at the same time. So I don't know exactly how this works right now, but the point of it, right, is the old institutions that we historically have relied on to provide some of the services that shape our lives are potentially being disintermediated here, right? What happens when a small town can supply and share and manage their own electricity generation? Right? How is that going to change the property landscape? And this final example that I have, again, this blew my mind, and we had to go back to, we have trend spotters all over the world that send us all of these informations, and we just did not believe this one when she sent this to us. So Didi Xuxing are like the Uber of China, right? It's a taxi hailing app. And last year, they released this feature where you could list your car on there if you owned a private car, and instead of being a taxi driver to someone and giving them a ride, you could lend your car out and let people take a test drive in your car. And you got a bit of money for it. And then if the person liked it, they could actually get in touch with a dealer, all through the app, right? Contact the dealer and arrange to buy that. Right, so again, what happens, right? You're a car company. You've spent decades building a dealership network, right? Building this distribution system. And suddenly, in a taxi app, people are connecting with each other to try and experience the products that they have. I mean, this blows my mind. And then the other thing, they had, in the first 90 days of launching this, they had 1.4 million test drive requests. I mean, this is like, the whole distribution platform that we live in is potentially changing faster than we realize. And before, again, some of you will be sitting there thinking, this stuff is frivolous, this is not going to affect me, this is ridiculous, this stuff is so niche. But remember, when we spoke 5 years ago, again, about Asian social media innovations like stickers, I literally remember we were at the MCA in Sydney, and people kind of laughed, right? I mean, not just in Sydney, all over the world, people laughed. They said, these cutesy stickers, they're fine for mid-20 Asian women on the subway, showing how cute they were. But my customers will never use them. And sure enough, right, stickers of all businesses are now having sticker packs. We've seen Burberry have them, TV channels have them. People use this stuff because it's just a fun, frivolous, easy way to connect. So again, the question that I'd ask you guys, so when I show some of those examples, think about what services, what value are you providing? And can you see in some of those examples who else might provide or distribute them? Is there a whole new way of doing business? Phew. So that was 3 pretty big questions, right? Who people want to become, what they want from the physical world, and then the business models and distribution, right? We looked at 3 massive trends. As I said, I've thrown a whole load of examples of you. That, of course, is just the tip of the iceberg, right? I could have picked any number of trends, any number of innovations to share with you. But also what I hope I've given you guys as well as a whistle-stop tour of some of the big trends facing the world of changing consumer expectations over the next 3 to 5 years. I hope I've given you a whole new way of seeing the world, right? Because when you go back to the office tomorrow, or even this evening, can you think about, yes, we live in this world of constant, perpetual, relentless change, right? We know that it's not going away. Amid all of this change, we're still people. We have basic fundamental needs and wants: status, entertainment, connection, information, things like this. Innovations that come into the marketplace, what they do is they set our emerging expectations. Think back to the on-plane Wi-Fi of Louis C.K. Think back to the Uber, right? So when you see a new innovation, not in the real estate industry, when you see it from a hotel, from a fast fashion retailer, from a mobile player, from an e-commerce site, think about what emerging expectations that's going to create amongst consumers. And think about how you might be able to bring it into the real estate game. Think about how you might be able to deploy it for your customers. And if you do that, the future will be very exciting. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, feel free to email me. Thank you.